Hi, and welcome to Straight Shot Radio. My name is Johnny Slick, and I'm the founder and head coach at Straight Shot Training, a personal training company that helps people of all fitness levels build strength and confidence both in and out of the gym with focused workouts and expert coaching. This was a big week for us here at Straight Shot because we opened our fully outfitted personal training studio at 8411 Broadband Drive in North Frederick, and it was an incredible week. So first of all, thank you to every single person who came out for your workouts at the new facility. Thank you to the Straight Shot coaches, and huge thank you to my co-owner, Chris. Everybody put in a ton of work, both on the coaches' end and on the clients' end, and it just made for a really special week for me because this is something that I know you've probably seen if you follow us on social media or maybe if you listen to the podcast. You've probably seen that this is something that we've been working on for a while. And Chris and I, who own Straight Shot together, we've been working together since 2018 on opening a studio in Frederick. But the whole dream of owning a gym, owning a personal training facility, for me personally, started about 14 years ago. And it started with me mopping a gym floor. And it came full circle when I was thinking about this as I was mopping the floor of our studio. And the 14 years of everything that's happened in between there, every little thing that has led to this week really hit me hard while I was mopping the floor. And I was mopping it by myself. And if you know me, I'm not normally alone. I'm very extroverted. I'm always around a lot of people. It's why I love being a coach. But in those moments when I'm alone and I'm able to kind of really just think about what's happening, it's wild. And I'm extremely fortunate to have the people in my life who have helped me along the way, both from mentors to and family, all the way to every single client I've worked with. So this is a huge thank you to all of you, because this would not have been possible without every single person over the past 14 years of my gym career. This wouldn't happen if it weren't for you all. So first of all, thank you all. And now I want to run you through a quick timeline in between mopping a gym floor as a fitness attendant and 14 years later, mopping a gym as the co-owner of a personal training studio. So when I got my first job at a gym when I was 18, it was the Shepherd University Wellness Center. I had just switched from being a communications major where I wanted to go into film. I switched to fitness and exercise science because I just knew I wanted to do something with fitness. I was teaching a kids' PE class to homeschoolers at the time, and this new passion for fitness, it hit me so hard. I was like, I need to do something with this. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I started working at the gym. Didn't really know what I was going to do from there as I was studying exercise science. But when I was working at the gym, I would mop the floors every single day. It was just on our checklist. I didn't realize that not every gym mops their entire floor every day, but that's what I did. And one time when I was mopping the floor, my boss came up to me, and her name's Jenny, and Jenny said, "Do you want to be a personal trainer? We need more trainers. We'll pay for you to get certified, and we'll help you get going if you are willing to take the time to do it." And I said, absolutely. I just immediately said, sure, yeah, I want to be a personal trainer. I had no clue what all was involved in it. So I literally had to learn from there how to be a personal trainer, because at that time, the courses in that program it was all exercise science. There was nothing about actually training people. So shout out to Jenny and Shepherd University for helping me get my start. They helped me become a personal trainer. I then was certified as a group exercise instructor, and I loved it so much. But I lived half an hour away from the gym. I commuted to Shepherd University when I went there. So I thought, well, if I move closer, if I move to biking distance from the gym, I can train people at any time. I can go to the gym and train people at 6 a.m. and I'll train them before my classes. Then I'll do my classes. Then I'll come to the gym and either work out or train people in the afternoon. And I'll go to more classes or do homework. Then I'll come back and I'll teach classes in the evening. And I lived at this gym, and I loved everything about it. And moving just off campus allowed me to see, wow, this is something that I can do the entire time I'm going through school. And I can come out of college already with 2.5 years of experience working in the career that I want to be in. So that was a huge opportunity for me was doing that. So I get through college, And at the end of my program, I had to do an internship. And my advisor wanted me to go to the Cooper Institute in Texas, because my senior year of Shepherd University, I was voted outstanding exercise science student. So I would have had the opportunity to go to the Cooper Institute for Aerobics in Texas, which is this huge institute where they study high-level athletes and do all of these performance tests on them. And it was all the really deep sciencey stuff, the laboratory side of exercise physiology that I didn't like. I liked working with people. I had been getting up as a college student at 5 a.m. to go train people in a gym before my classes. I was staying late and closing the gym at night. I was also working as a lifeguard. There were days when I was working 6 hours as a lifeguard and then like another 6 hours as a trainer and a gym floor attendant. I literally lived at this gym. And so whenever I was presented with the opportunity to go to Texas, I passed on it because, one, it didn't sound interesting to me, but two, I was getting married the midway point through my internship. Rachel and I were getting married in July. We had moved our wedding date up because we saw that she was probably going to need a lung transplant at some point. And so we moved our wedding date up from September of 2010 all the way up to July of 2010. And I knew that I needed an internship that was close and something that was paid so that I would be able to provide for my new family of me and my wife. And I was 21 at this point. So I turned down that internship and took an internship in Frederick, Maryland, because it was paid and it was close and I'd be able to train people. And that internship turned into a job. And that job turned into a full-time trainer. This was the Frederick YMCA. And I was a full-time trainer and a supervisor for a while. Then I became a full-time assistant director at the fitness center. And around that time, I also became an adjunct professor at Frederick Community College and started training future trainers. And so I thought, well, maybe this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be working in a nonprofit setting, and I'm probably going to be training people less and less and doing more of the nonprofit admin side, which I was not passionate about. So I quit my job as an assistant director so I could just be a full-time coach and still work as a professor. And during that time, Rachel and I started the adoption process. And this was when online training was just on the radar at this point, for me at least. And so I was doing a little bit here and there, but I didn't really have a good way of scaling it. It was taking me too long. I was having to charge enough to make it worth it, and people weren't buying it, and it wasn't working out for me. So Rachel came up with the idea for a Straight Shot, which was an online subscription program that people would just pay $21 for a month, and they would get workouts emailed to them every week. And so shout out to Rachel for really being the brains behind the beginning of Straight Shot and naming it Straight Shot when I described to her what I was trying to create here in a fitness program and eventually a company. So we started out of necessity during our adoption process because we were trying to raise enough money to adopt our son Wes. And the way I was working at the time and where I was working, I couldn't do it with just that. So shout out to Rachel for making the company start in the first place. So we started out of necessity during that, and it was growing really slowly, which is a side gig for me at that point, until 2018. In 2018, I met Chris Lewis, who now owns Straight Shot with me. I met him at FCC through the personal training program I was doing at the time, and he was opening up Kinetics down in North Carolina, and I was helping him a little bit with that, with some consulting, and we, kind of talked around it for a while until finally one day, I remember exactly the squat rack that we were using when he asked me, he's like, hey, do you just want to open up a studio up here? And immediately I was like, yeah. And it reminded me a lot of that first time that Jenny asked me if I wanted to be a personal trainer. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's just one of those things where I have a habit of saying yes to things and figuring out how to do them later, and that's for better or for worse. So Chris and I decided to open the studio up together. And then we struggled for 2 years trying to find a location, and that was really frustrating. And there was so much of are we supposed to do this? Should we just stick to an online thing? Should we expand online? Where are we going to go? We can't find a place. We looked at like 16, 17 different locations, and it just door after door being slammed in our face, and it was getting really frustrating. And then 2020 hit. Now, in early 2020, we had actually found a location, and we were super excited. February of 2020 getting ready to go in, and some things started falling through with the lease, and then finally the whole lease fell through, and it was super frustrating, but at the same time, we saw where things were going with COVID, and we were like, you know what, I think we dodged a bullet on that. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, the entire country shuts down. So at that point, I left my job of 10 years to go full-time with Straight Shot Training mid-pandemic. And Chris and I figured out how we could do a combination of very limited in-home training, how to do it safely, and go really all in on online training. And between Zoom and the Team Builder app that we use to train people and in-home training, we actually did well over 2020. We realized that this was a pivot that obviously we were forced into, but it was something that we really grew from, and we learned how to do things a little bit differently. So I worked from home with virtual sessions. I was on the road a little bit with in-home sessions, and I did that for a year. And we actually kind of stopped looking for a place because we just didn't know how long the pandemic was going to last. We knew that we couldn't get into something and only be partially open with the guidelines in Maryland on gyms. And it was just, okay, just head down, let's just work, and let's just help people and do what we do, which is coach people with a passion. And let's do that in whatever way we need to right now for all of 2020. So in 2021, we started transitioning back into in-person training. And we thought, you know what, let's start looking for a place again. And we found a place, and we thought, okay, this is it. We're going to be in here. And then immediately that door got slammed. And I remember being so frustrated, but at the same time thinking, okay, let's just do what's next. So I had heard about this place called SL Studio from another trainer named Bruce. And so immediately I got off the phone with Chris after he told me that we had just lost another place. And I immediately called up SL Studio and I said, hey, I need a place to train my clients. How much do you charge? If I were to train my clients in your private gym as part of your co-working space, what does this look like? And one phone call and one meeting later, we set up operations at SL Studio as co-working members there and used their private gym to build back up our in-person training business while we began the search again for a different building. And we finally found one. We found the current building that we are in, which is 8411 Broadband Drive in Frederick. We found Suite E, and it was a place that we'd actually been looking at before, and we didn't think that we'd get it. And we had looked at so many other places and kept thinking, man, it would be so great. This place would be so perfect if we could just get into this place on broadband. And it just didn't look like it was going to happen. And it happened. It was meant to be, and it happened. And we signed the lease on the place that we're currently in now. And in just 10 weeks, I actually looked back and saw the Instagram post where it's me and Chris standing in an empty warehouse, and the picture's from the back. And it says, we're opening a studio. It said that on the Instagram post. And out of curiosity, when I was getting ready for this podcast, I thought, well, let me see the date that I posted that. And it was just about 11 weeks ago that I posted that picture. 11 weeks ago from the time that we opened our fully outfitted studio. So in just around 10 weeks, we had to order the flooring, order the equipment, get everything installed. We had an awesome first workout in the space with zero flooring, zero equipment, nothing in there, just us coaches and like 30 plus people that showed up that day to do a workout on a concrete floor. And shout out to everybody who came in that first day. That was October 2nd. And shout out to everybody who came that day to do that workout to help welcome us to this new space. And thank you to the people who didn't work out, who just came to hang out and see this space and welcome us, because there were a lot of people who have been rooting for us and in our corner and praying for us. And especially like my parents were there. And that meant a lot to me that my parents were there, and Rachel and Wes were there. And I had my family there with me. And it was such a cool moment for me. And I was so happy that I was able to show the people who have seen me every single day for the past 14 years that I've been growing in this career, for those people who have seen me coming up and all the struggles that I've had and the mistakes I've made in my career and the good and the bad that I've been through and the stress that I carry home with me that nobody else sees. And to have them there was really special for me. And that was a lot of fun. And what I saw there was that, this is where we're supposed to be. And it took a really long time for us to get here. And there were a lot of times when it got really frustrating, but seeing that group in there and just how much fun everybody had on a concrete floor, and how it really was just about the coaching. And I led the warm-up, and the rest of that workout was led by my coaches, John, Bailey, and Delaney. They were awesome. And Chris and I got to see everybody interacting with our coaches and being in this space that we had been waiting so long on. And it was just kind of one of those moments where you're like, this is happening. This is really real. But it still didn't feel quite real until we got the flooring in. We got the rubber flooring in, the turf in, we installed the equipment. All of that happened between a Wednesday and the following Wednesday. We got all of the flooring in, all of the equipment in. We had to put together all of the little stuff ourselves, get it put in there, get it cleaned. All of that was from one Wednesday to the next before we opened up on October 13th, that Wednesday. So on Tuesday, before we open, I mopped the floors again. And this time I wasn't mopping the floors of a gym that I was a brand new employee at. I was mopping the gym floor to the studio that I own alongside my business partner, Chris, and I get to share this space with some incredible trainers who are also good friends of mine. And I get to be in this space with an amazing group of people from all fitness levels who train with us every single day and have been with me for years, some of them, and some of them brand new. And it's just, I'm extremely thankful to be mopping that floor. And I mopped the floor the Tuesday before we opened our fully outfitted studio, and I've been mopping the floor every day since then. Even if it's just a little bit, I get the mop out and I'll mop, the entryway where people's shoes are leaving some dirt. I didn't realize just how much mopping you actually really need to do. It makes more sense to me now why my boss had me mop every day back at the other gym, because black gym floors are really hard to keep clean. But you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm going to mop that floor every day. And while I was mopping and thinking back to that time that I was mopping and I got asked if I wanted to be a personal trainer, and I was thinking about these two experiences of mopping, the one that I was currently doing and the one that kind of started my whole career with this. And I thought to myself, I'm going to keep mopping this floor because I know that doing the things that got me here are going to be the things that take Straight Shot to where I want it to be in the future. And I am happy to get that mop out every single day and mop the floor. And who knows, maybe eventually we'll have one of those really cool, like, walk behind automatic mopping systems, and I'll still be cleaning the floor, but mopping gym floors is always going to hold a special place in my heart because of those two times. The first time, whenever I was mopping the floor, and during that mopping session was asked to become a personal trainer, and then mopping the floors the day before we opened our studio. So that's what I've got for you all today. Thank you so much for listening. If you are listening on a podcast platform where you can leave a review, please leave a review on the podcast. It really helps more people hear these episodes and hear about what we do at Straight Shot. And actually, I'm not sure how it happened, but shout out to my listeners in India for having me in the top 60 fitness podcasts on Apple Podcasts. That happened last week, so that was awesome. That came out of nowhere. So thank you all so much for listening over in India. Thank you to everybody who listens in France, in Canada, in Australia, in Brazil, and everybody who listens across the U.S. I really appreciate you taking the 20 to 30 minutes out of your week to listen to me share what I'm so passionate about, even if it is just mopping gym floors. And if you are interested in training with Straight Shot Training, you can train with us in person in Frederick at a freshly mopped floor of the studio at 8411 Broadband Drive, Suite E. That's in Frederick. Or you can train with us in Mount Holly, North Carolina at Kinetics Physiotherapy and Performance. If you are nowhere near those two locations, you can train with us anywhere online. You can just head over to the website straightshottraining.com and see how you can work with us remotely in a couple of different ways there. So thank you again for listening, and have a great week, everybody.